I am here with Kennedy Noble on the Swim Strong Dryland podcast. I'm so thankful for your time, Kennedy. She has such an amazing story and so many cool parts of her journey that I'm excited to dive into. But Kennedy, welcome and thanks so much for taking the time to join. And I wanted to just start with, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about yourself and your swim journey, how you got started in the first place with your swim journey and kind of where you are now.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
For sure.
Um, what got me started was actually my mom did triathlons when I was growing up,
Okay.
and she would take me to her swim practices, or like she would swim on her own, or she had some coaches sometimes. But I would just watch her swim laps forever, and I was like, maybe I should start swimming. And in Arizona, rec swimming was a very big thing because it's so hot. So
Yep.
yeah, it was very common for people to do swimming in the summer. So I started doing that when I was probably 8 years old,
Okay.
maybe a little younger. And then I started taking it pretty serious. I would get so nervous before my races. I like had to win every race. And my parents were like, maybe you're getting pretty competitive with it. Maybe you should get into club swimming. So um, I started club swimming when I was 11. And yeah, I got
Before
really lucky with awesome coaches. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Before I wanted to interrupt for just a second because before you get into
Yeah.
your club swimming journey, I wanted to ask you about something you just said about how you had to win. Was that something? Were you always a really competitive little kid, or how did that happen for you?
I would say so. Like when I was younger, I would say I grew up like athletic. My sister and we would um I don't know. Like we would run everywhere at recess and play soccer. Like I personally didn't try a lot of sports like when I was super little. My sister did for sure. She just loved to try everything. But
Okay.
Um, yeah, I was definitely super competitive in everything, every
So you
aspect,
all
school, all of it.
That's awesome. So you always just had that inner fire, which I love.
Yeah.
So just trying to imagine you at 8 or 9 years old, just like wanting to beat everybody. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you got into club swimming at 11, and how did
Mhm.
things change or progress from there when you got into that? Was it something you immediately enjoyed, or what did that process look like going from more recreational swimming to club swimming?
Yeah, I actually tried club swimming when I was 10 at first, and it lasted a month, before I decided I hated it, and
Okay.
then, I did, like, another year of summer swimming, and I was like, "Ah, okay, I should just try it again, like, why not? I love swimming." So I tried again and ended up really liking it. And my parents were like, okay, we're just going to push you a little bit. Like they're pretty hands off. Like I've been so lucky with amazing parents in that regard, especially because they're just like, you know what? It's you motivate yourself. It's all for you, whatever.
That's awesome.
But in this aspect, they were like, okay, let's just like push you a little bit, like keep you going in the club swimming. So yeah, it took a couple months before I was like, "Okay, this is fine. I'm not last in the lane and stuff." So, because I guess, yeah, it was definitely humbling at first. I was just like, "Ugh, I'm last in the lane, like, every day, this stinks, like, I wanna be first," and so, obviously, you have to work for it.
Sure.
Um, so I put in more work, and then I swam at the YMCA, it's called YMCA Westside Silverfins in Arizona, and I got so lucky with amazing coaches, like, all throughout my high school and, like, club swimming, age group swimming career, and even now, like, I can't complain, like, I had amazing coaches, so,
Awesome.
yeah.
And when you were making that transition to feeling like I hate this to not being last in the lane to like being competitive or enjoying the process and maybe
Mhm,
seeing swimming more accurately, like how the sport actually works and how challenging it actually is. How
mhm,
how hard was that transition? Because I know it's hard for a lot of kids going from age group
mhm,
swimming to like, especially when you get to like senior swimming level and maybe
yeah,
time drops don't come as frequently and there's people
mhm,
who are just as good as you or better at national
right,
meets. And so for you mentally, what was most helpful for you? Or maybe looking back in high school,
mhm.
you're like, it wasn't very good for me. But what would you say looking back were some things that you learned mindset wise, making that switch for any age grouper out there watching right now?
Yeah, I would say I definitely became a nerd of the sport. Like, I became obsessed with it. Um, I really looked at, you know, it's good to see what's going on outside of just, like, your own realm because you don't realize what's going on outside of, like, the state that you're swimming in,
Hmm.
necessarily. So it is definitely very jarring going to your first, like, junior nationals or sectionals or whatever meet it is. You're like, "Oh my gosh, there's all these really fast swimmers that are as fast as me or if not faster." And so it is definitely a big shock, but it's really exciting, and I've always, like, told, especially younger swimmers, like, all of these are just stepping stones. It's like, "Oh, this is, like, my next step to my next big meet," and it's honestly really motivating, like, you see all these fast swimmers and you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna beat them one day." Like, that's what I thought when I when I was at junior nationals or sectionals or nationals. I was like, "Okay, like, this year might not be the year, I'm gonna do the best I can." It just depends on,
Hmm.
where you're at, but, it's like, "Okay, this is my motivation for next year, like, this meet is gonna motivate me for the next season." And then,
Yeah.
yeah, I became obsessed with the sport, so I would watch swimmers when I was younger, like Reagan Smith and Catherine and, Missy Franklin, um, like, I would just watch, like, their races and all of that and be like, "Okay, I wanna race like them, like, I wanna train like them," stuff like that, so, yeah.
Yeah.
It was almost like just becoming obsessed with it, like, just, go, like, deep dive in it. It's fun.
Yeah. Have a bigger picture of what's actually possible, what's out there, have people to
Mhm.
inspire you. It sounds like you were inspired by people who you wanted to be like and to be able to
Yeah.
accomplish things that they've accomplished. And at the same time, when you weren't winning and you had even your competitors, it sounds like you use it as fuel for the
Mhm.
next time instead of, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not as good as them. It's easy to get in the
Yeah,
comparison trap and like start to feel bad about
absolutely.
yourself.
Mhm.
But if you do what you just said and just use it as motivation, hey, they can
Mhm.
do it, I can do it. I'm coming back
Yep.
next year, and that's
Mhm.
it. And so I really love that mindset, and that's obviously served you well in your swim career because you've had significant success. And currently on the United States national team, which congratulations.
Thank you.
And just yes, countless amazing swims at NCAA's, ACCs, and at national competitions. So you've obviously had a lot of success, but before we get to that, I want to hear specifically how you ended up choosing NC State in your recruiting process. What did that look like for you?
Yeah. Um, I would say at first when I started recruiting, I actually didn't know what NC State was. Like, I guess in Arizona, like, I just had never heard about NC State or, like, I was just never big into basketball. I guess, like, if you're into basketball maybe a little bit, you would know. Um, but I remember having my first call with Braden. I think at first I told him, I was like, "I'm not that interested, but I'm willing to call," and he was like, "Great, let's call next week," and I was like, "Okay." And we had our first call, and I was like, "Dang, I really like it." I was like, "I like the vibe that Braden has and, like, what he's saying and all of it," and, eventually it led into other calls, and also my recruiting year was during COVID, so like, my whole
Okay,
recruiting process was over Zoom practically.
that's crazy.
Um, yeah, there was no official visits, so it made it very difficult. So it was all about just, like, building relationships, which I thought it just ended up working out so well.
Hmm.
I would say, like, my class in general is just such a great group of people too, just, like, we've all bonded over Zoom and just got to talk, and it's
Yeah.
amazing. Um and so, yeah, I would do Zoom calls with the team that was in Raleigh already, and I just saw how close they were, and I was like, "Oh, man, like, they love each other, like, this is so awesome." Um, and so then I took an unofficial visit here, and I loved the vibe. I loved how, weird the girls were. I know it sounds silly, but, like, they were just so quirky, and I felt like I could be myself, like, and the other thing I thought about when I was talking to other teams was I saw this fact one time, and it was like you're the average of the closest 5 people you hang out with.
I've heard that.
And
Yep.
so I thought about that when I was like on my visits, like my unofficial visits. I was like, okay, who do I want to be like the most? And I felt that way when I went to NC State. I was like, I want to be like these girls. Like they're so weird, they're so themselves, they're so, you know, they're awesome.
That's
And it's
amazing.
still that vibe today. Like we're all so close. We're all texting in a group chat constantly every day. Like it's definitely I've heard from outsiders that we have a unique situation and I'm so grateful for it. It's awesome.
That's
And we have an incredible coaching staff too and support staff. All of it. Like our trainer, like weights coach. It's awesome. I obviously have bias, but I think it's amazing.
That is awesome. It's so fun to hear. You can just hear the excitement and the genuineness in your voice when you speak. And that's coming from someone who's been through the whole
Mhm.
college process now with one NCAAs to go, which is, I'm sure,
Yeah.
mind blowing to think about. But
Yeah, it is
um,
crazy.
if you had to just knowing where you are now, if you could look back on your career and share with your younger self. I have a list of your accomplishments here. I might embarrass you and read them in a second because it's pretty incredible. But would you, looking back, like, what do you can you think about what you wanted to accomplish in this sport? Like by the time you were finished with college, what were some of the things that were really important to you? And have you exceeded your own personal expectations? Are you still like thinking like, hey, I've got a lot more in the tank? What do you think about just looking back at like young Kennedy, like what would you be saying to yourself about maybe how proud you are of yourself or just like what you've accomplished? I'm
Yeah.
just curious.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if my younger self looked at me now, I'd like she'd be so excited, definitely. Um, I remember when I first started swimming, I would just lightly say like, "Oh, I want to make the Olympics." Like it's easy to
Mhm.
just kind of say that. Um, I didn't truly feel that way, honestly, until I got into college. Before that, I was like, "Meh, like, it's not in the cards for me." I don't know, especially in backstroke, it is a brutal event,
Yeah, it
and I
is.
remember, um, my first Olympic trials, I can't remember. I made the semifinal in the 2 back, and I was like, "Wow, I've got a major gap." Like, Reagan went 2:03, like, the previous year or that year, or 2 years before that. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got a long ways to go if I wanna make the Olympic team eventually, so it might not be in the cards for me. That's okay, I just wanna enjoy it." And then, yeah, like, in college, that's when I really started feeling that way, but when I was younger, I honestly didn't even know, like, what was possible, if I'm being honest, like, I
Yeah.
never had, like I didn't know you can, like, make a national team or a junior national team until it was, like, happening, at least, like, when I made the junior national team, I didn't really know about it until, like, a year before, I made my first one, so I think, like, I was just enjoying the process in the
Mm,
moment, which I'm glad I did.
yeah.
Um, I just wanted to swim faster. That was really it. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then yeah, if my younger self looked at it now, like I'd be pretty excited. And I still have more goals. Like I do truly believe I have a lot more left in the tank.
Mhm.
And I want to keep swimming. I still love it. Like as long as I love swimming, that's how long I'm
Love that.
doing it. Like I
Yes.
really enjoy it. So
That's amazing. Well, first of all, the passion in you is just contagious. Like, I hope that everybody watching this stays in love with the sport forever because that is the
yeah.
most important thing. And just hearing you talk about to your younger self how you were just focused on, I just want to swim faster and I just want to enjoy the process and what's the next thing.
Mhm.
I think it's wild to see this list of your accomplishments. So obviously, outside of your success at the Olympic trials, outside of being a USA national team member, and doing all kinds of crazy things in club swimming, just in college, Kennedy's a 10-time All-American, an ACC champion, four-time ACC silver medalist, four-time ACC bronze medalist, CSCAA Scholar All-America, academic All-ACC for 3 years in a row. Just all kinds of incredible accolades. You've been a part of so many different historic swims in school history. It's it's a career that I think a lot of people dream about. And I think sometimes it's hard when you're the one doing it to really appreciate everything that you've actually done. Um,
Yeah.
and so and now is not that time, right? Because you have NCAA's coming, and then you can sit back and be like, okay, let me really soak this in and
Yeah.
what my college career looked like. But then you also have, I believe everything you said, that there's a lot more in the tank too, and that there's some significant
Thanks.
potential left on the table. And so I'm excited to see you continue training and chasing after your goals and doing things that I think a lot of other people would look at as like club swimmers and say, yeah, I'll probably never be able to do that. And although I don't think that's true, I think a lot of people sell themselves short. You do have to have a certain
Mhm.
mindset. And so
Yeah, absolutely.
to get to where you've been, there's obviously had to have been a good amount of adversity. I've never come across a swimmer who just had all kinds of success and it was an easy road, right? Like, it's just
Right,
always
yeah.
been easy and never thought about quitting, never, had doubts, never went through anything
Yeah.
challenging. Like, I've just never met a single person who that's been the case for. I'm wondering
Mhm.
if you'd be willing to share what's like some of the biggest adversity or challenges that you face or are facing and things that you're super proud of continuing to fight through, if there's anything that comes to mind.
Yeah. I would say definitely my biggest one would be, my age group coach. He passed away, right after
Wow.
I went out of his group. So, at, like, my first year of high school, my freshman year, he passed away, and I had such a close relationship with him. He was like I've had so many good coaches, but he was just, like, the coach that just really lit that fire under me.
Mm.
Um, he was so ambitious with me in practice, just I did things I never thought I could do every day, I just I kept pushing the limits, and, like, he started that for me. And so it was hard transitioning out of his group, first of all, like, going into high school, um, where things start to feel a little bit more serious. And then him passing away was just insanely hard. Even after I moved out of his group, every day after practice, I would go to him because he was still coaching next to us.
Yeah.
I would go to him and sit down and give him a whole recap of my practice and, like, tell him how it went, and, like, we would talk about whatever. Um, and so he was still my coach to me even though I moved out of his group. Um, and so it was very hard. It was very hard for so many people. He had such a big impact on the swimming community, and especially our team. He was an incredible person. And so after that happened, I definitely lost a lot of motivation in swimming my
Mm.
freshman year. Um, I just didn't really feel like he was kind of that person who I almost wanted to impress in a way, like, only his opinion mattered to me at the
Mm.
time, and so it was hard to go to practice and be like, "Ugh, like, he's not there watching me," or,
Yeah.
or he's not there to support me or for me to talk to him, and so I really had to learn to form, that kind of relationship with my new coach. um and so my assistant coach at the time, she was like, "You need to start talking to him more. It's like, you can't, this can't happen forever. Like, you need to start telling him what's going on." I'm like,
Mm.
"Fine." So I would talk to him more after practice, and that's something that, like, I really took away from, honestly, my whole career is developing that close relationship with your coach. So important.
Mm.
You don't have to, you know, share everything that's going on in your life with them, but it is good for them to know, what's going on in your life. It Yeah, it gives them a lot of, information about you and how to even, like, how to coach you, or, like, what
Yeah.
pushes your buttons, or
Yeah.
anything. Like, having that kind of communication, it really helps when you're in practice because you have that personal relationship, and it's
Mhm.
almost like it feels good when you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna swim fast for you." Like, this is a team effort, like, we're doing this together, like, the coach and the swimmer. And that's what Ryan and I did, the coach that passed away. So I learned
Mhm.
to do that with Darian. Um, and like we learned how to like, push each other's buttons and get me to swim
Yeah.
fast in practice and form that relationship. And I felt comfortable talking to him about virtually anything. So swimming, you know, it was a very safe space for me at the time. For a moment, it really wasn't in my eyes. And then eventually once I formed that relationship again, then it again felt like a very safe space for me. It
Yeah.
was my, the pool is my area to vent. Like
Yeah.
that's especially what it felt like when I was younger, was that's where I let out all my anger, whatever's going on, like in school if it's a bad day or even like at home, like it sometimes it's just not a great day. So swimming was,
Yep.
always there. It was
Mhm.
reliable. I could work my butt off in there and just let it all out. So,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
awesome. Well, thanks for being extremely real. That is really
Mhm.
cool, and I do strongly believe in the coach athlete relationships have to be strong for there to
Yeah.
be success and joy in the sport. Because
Mhm.
um, I just I think if you're training for a coach who doesn't really know you or care, then you're in like a whole different space. And
Yeah.
and I also think as a coach, it helps you really understand your athletes, what you need training wise.
Mhm.
Um, and how to coach you, right? Like your
Yep.
mindset isn't going to be the same as the person training next to you. So if you say
Yep.
something to you, but something the same thing to your teammate, it may not hit with you.
Right.
It
Yeah.
may do the opposite and demotivate
Mhm.
you. And so I love though that you were proactive in fighting for, even as a younger athlete, like these um, strong relationships between you and your coaches, so that they could better coach you and understand you and know you, um,
Mhm.
and you could help them as well be better at what they're doing, and they could do that for you. So I think
Mhm.
that that is really cool. I've actually never heard anybody give that specific piece of advice, that for anybody listening, like really develop those relationships. It's not just on the coaches, although obviously coaches should be very intentional about that. Um,
Mhm.
Athletes really seeking that out and pursuing that, I think says a lot about
Mhm.
you, and just a desire to um, not only want to be great, but to be connected with the people that are around you. And
Mhm.
um, I think that's extra motivating when you're training for people who actually care, and you're doing
Yeah.
it together, like you said. And obviously, the coaches aren't doing the swimming; it's you, but
Mhm.
it just makes it more fun to be a part of the journey in that type of way. So
Yep.
um, yeah, thanks for sharing all that. And
Yeah, of course.
um, at NC State, do you have any like to kind of wrap up? Do you have any like favorite memories or a memory that comes to mind when you're like, this is, I know that's so hard. Um, just like maybe the first initial, the one that comes to your mind of like, this was such a sweet moment or a cool thing, whether
Yeah.
results wise or relationally or just fun, just something you will remember. I'm sure there will be
Mhm.
so many memories, but I'm just curious, knowing that you're such a relational person, you've loved your experience there. And I'm just curious what stands out to you about your time there.
Yeah, I would say specifically swimming wise, because we do so many things outside of practice that I could think of a million, but, at least specifically swimming, I would say maybe my sophomore year after my 2 back at NCAAs. Um, that was definitely a hard year because I sprained my ankle that year, and it was
Mm.
just ugh, it wasn't the most fun, but, we worked through it. Steph and Dan were awesome about it. I just did a buttload of kicking for a month when it finally was healing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just remember just how incredible it felt to see the time and then look over at the coaches and my teammates and just like how excited they were and just how like I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like what it's about. Like this is a team effort. Like this isn't just like me swimming the time. It's like about all of us like everyone has a piece in the puzzle. Everyone, contributes to everyone's success." Um I remember getting out of the water and all the girls like ran up to me, we were hugging, and it was just like, ugh, it hurt so bad. And then all of a sudden, I didn't hurt anymore once I was like hugging them because I just wasn't focusing on how bad my legs hurt. I was just thinking about like how grateful I was. It was like a moment where I like soaked it in the moment. Like I was like, wow, this feels so good. Like this is
That's
so
amazing.
awesome.
That is
Yeah.
so cool. Yeah, there's always I feel like it's hard to pick things out from so many different moments, but I feel like there's always one that you're like this feeling or this moment, like
Yeah.
it just like really shows what the culture is like here, what the experience is like here, what it's like to be
Mhm.
a part of this family. And um so and one final question I wanted to ask you too. So you've gotten to have your the experience with Swim Strong Dryland and some of the things that you
Mhm.
guys do utilizing this program. What would you say you've obviously done a lot of training over the course of your life. What would you say is something that you feel like is unique about your experience with Swim Strong? Something you feel like has
Mhm.
been maybe the most helpful or the most unique in terms of other things you've done?
Yeah. I mean, I would say Swim Strong Dryland is definitely very intentional. Like, I've noticed how, like, every, workout or movement that we do, I can tell exactly what it's meant for, and so it feels like there's a purpose to it. Um, and I also love that, like, I'm thinking about my mobility. I'm
Mm,
not, in other dryland, it's been more about, like, conditioning and stuff like that, but I love that there's an emphasis on mobility and, because you need to have, you know, I'm trying to look for the word. You need to have, like, coordination out of the
yeah.
water, Swimmers are, like, known to, like, not be able to, do sports on land typically, I guess. So I feel like Swim Strong Dryland is really good in that aspect to, like, work on that coordination and mobility and being more athletic out of the water because
Yeah.
that translates
Yeah.
heavily in the water.
For sure. Yeah, I appreciate your perspective on that, and that's definitely something I know that we're passionate about. Is we want that exact stigma you mentioned. We want swimmers to be known as athletes who are really
Yeah.
good at swimming, and yeah, just movement efficiency and quality. And the people. It's funny. I just put up a post recently about how mobility, like if you're a serious athlete, mobility is something that
Yeah.
you'll really do consistently and with intention. And so obviously
Mhm.
you're someone who pays attention to all the little details, and it's paid off in your career and will continue to pay off. But Kennedy, it's been so fun getting to talk with you, and thank you for sharing your story with everybody on here.
Of
And obviously,
course.
there's a lot more to your life and to your story. This is just a little snapshot, but you have been an inspiration to me and to our staff, and I'm sure everybody at NC State and anybody who's followed your journey. And
Thank you.
hopefully, yeah, it's just true, and hopefully you'll have a lot more fans now who have watched this and can follow just your journey and your life story. It's about so much more than the accomplishments that you have achieved. It's everything in that process that you've done and the person you've become and the relationships you've built and the things you've learned along the way. And um, I hope more people will look up to you and reach out to you as well to hear more about your specific life journey, because it's inspiring and I can't wait to continue to watch it unfold. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
For sure.